Welcome to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with Rebecca Hall Gruyter. In our program each week, we provide the tools, ideas, and encouragement to help you move ahead on your journey, becoming a more powerful and impactful woman in your own life. Now here's your host, Rebecca Hall Gruyter.
Welcome, everyone. I hope that you're having an amazing day. It is already July. The year is going by so quickly. We have experienced such extremes this year. And one of the things I celebrate, I always look to check in, halfway through the year, check in. And one of the things I celebrate is that I have found that there is a deepening of connection that is happening around the world. And I think that's powerful. Every conversation I have, one of the things people ask is, how are you doing? And they're listened to the answer. And then they share how they're really doing. And then the way we end our conversation so frequently is be safe. And I think that's a beautiful thing that has come out of some of the challenges that we have faced globally and in our various countries. And I hope that's something that we continue. So as I reflect back on so many things that have happened this year, that's something globally I'm thankful for and I celebrate. And some of the things we like to look at in July are, what are we choosing to bring forward? What are we celebrating? What are we choosing to step into? Are we fully showing up, fully sharing who we are? And are we choosing to shine, share our gifts and our talents and abilities out in the world? And it's really important we check in, because trust me, it's not something that just happens automatically. It's a purposefulness. It's choosing every day to step forward with purpose, choosing to share our gifts and our talents. And each of you are a gift, have amazing talents that nobody else has. And I want to encourage you to continue to choose to show up, to continue to share the amazing gift of who you are. And we have an amazing guest today. I know you're going to love getting to know him. And in fact, we've dedicated the full show to a conversation with him, because he's going to be talking about motivation. Because we can intend to show up, we can intend to shine, but sometimes we can lose motivation along the way. Or when we're leading a group or a company or an organization, we can motivate some, but sometimes how do we struggle and motivate the unmotivated? How do we motivate ourselves when we're not feeling it, when we're disheartened, when we aren't excited? How do we shift that to become truly motivated in all that we're doing in our life so that we can fully show up, fully share, and fully shine? As we get ready for our conversation today, I want to take a moment and check in. It's so easy to be busy in the doing that we don't always slow down and take a breath and give ourselves a moment to catch up with ourselves. So I want to invite you to do that, because I know there is something here for you today in our conversation by the very nature that you are tuning in. It's not an accident. There is something here for you. And I want you to be able to receive everything that is available to you. We want to support you powerfully, motivate you, encourage you in your life. So let's take a moment to become fully present. Take a breath together. In through your nose. See how big you can make your belly. Out through your mouth. Like through a straw. Beautiful. Keep breathing. This kind of breath helps lower your cortisol levels, your stress levels. It removes what does not serve in your body and brings beautiful oxygen in so that you can have clearer thinking. Creates space to receive all that will serve you. It creates room to hear and receive and be fully present. So keep breathing. And actually, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. You're absolutely safe. And let's put one hand on your heart, one hand on your head. So you're bringing all of you in, mind, body, soul, and spirit. As you continue to breathe, and in this moment, as we take a minute to stop and listen. What is it that you need? What is it that will encourage you, support you, motivate you? What is it that you need today that you are willing to receive? Because you have choice. So what is it that you need and are willing to receive? We're not talking about how yet. We're just talking about identifying what it is that you need and are willing, open to receive, unattached to how, but open. You're identifying it and you're ready to receive. Beautiful. Once you have that information, let's take another breath and open our eyes, becoming fully present. Beautiful. Eyes open, and take a moment to write down what was laid on your heart. What is it that you need and are willing to receive? Let's start to create that. Let's start to bring it into reality by getting it out of swirling inside of us to something we can actually look at and touch and see. And this will help us keep it top of mind, because we can get distracted and miss answers because we're too busy looking at the next shiny thing. So really keep it top of mind, what it is that you need and are willing to receive. And our goal today is to support you in this need, to help encourage and motivate you as we come alongside you. So as we take a moment, I'm going to go around our virtual room here and ask our amazing guest, when he took a moment just to stop, pause, and listen, what was laid on his heart. Matt, I'd love for you to share.
Appreciate Rebecca having me on. And what was on my heart during this time was recognizing that myself and others as humans were constantly seeking, so much so that we don't always take the time to step back and focus on what we're even seeking. You know, we're constantly going after something, but we're never sitting back picking what the target is we're going after. So what I'm hoping to receive is the ability to impact some other people, and the value that I receive from that as I explain how to find that target and move that forward, not only other people's lives, but also my own life, and how it's a challenge every single day to continue to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I can feel your heartbeat in that, your desire to really support, lift up, and motivate us. And I appreciate your willingness to lean in. And so we lift up your intention, support that collectively as we lean in around the world. And as we get ready to go to our first commercial break, I want to encourage each of you listeners to take a moment and see, just to check in. And are you clear on what you're seeking? Has that become clear to you? Taking a moment to catch up on that. We can just move so fast. We cannot always have clarity. So I encourage you in this next 2 minutes to take time to get clear, to listen and hear and receive. And we'll look forward to continuing our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Be sure to friend us on Facebook. You can do it right now. Visit facebook.com/Voice America or search for us at keyword Voice America.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Get Unchained. Tune in every Monday for Jane Unchained on the Voice America Influencers channel, featuring nationally recognized best-selling author, TV journalist, and social media influencer Jane Velez Mitchell. This program takes you inside a trending lifestyle that's the next wave of human evolution. It all starts on your plate. If you want to revolutionize your life, get happier, more energized, then discover the secret. Tune in to Jane Unchained Mondays at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Influencers channel. Rebecca Hall Greider's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Have you had a chance to check out Voice America's online magazine and blog? If you love our hosts and shows, check out articles that give an even deeper perspective, plus topics about health and fitness, movie reviews, philosophy, business tips and tactics, spirituality, positive thought, current events, and even more about your favorite host. It's just a click away at blog.voiceamerica.com. That's blog.voiceamerica.com. The Voice America Press Blog. All access, all the time. We don't follow, we lead. Join us, the Voice America Influencers Channel.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Greider. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes, that opportunity to stop, pause, listen, and receive. So often we are pouring into others, moving so quickly, not always remembering to stop, pause, listen, and receive. So we're going to give you those opportunities throughout our show today so that you can receive real time everything that serves you and actually get to start processing it in your heart and in your life. And what's powerful about that, when you can start to integrate it, is it moves from on the to-do someday list to actually becoming part of you. So by the end of the show, you're actually going to be able to incorporate some of these things, integrate them into yourself so that when you go back out into the world, it's actually part of you. That's why these 2-minute moments can be so powerful and transformational. So I hope you enjoy them as we spend our time together today. And as we get ready to go into a deeper conversation around motivation in particular, I wanted to take a moment to more formally introduce our powerful guest. So Matt Granados is an author, a featured columnist, a sought-after expert in the field of motivating others. He's the founder and president of Life Pulse, Inc. Over the last decade, he has tested, developed, and helped others implement effective and duplicatable systems to build a powerful foundation and motivate even the unmotivated people in your life and in your business. He has taught these techniques to organizations around the world, including Google, Twitter, and the U.S. Air Force, and professionals all over the world. He is now making this powerful information available to you. He's absolutely passionate about helping you and those in your life become motivated to achieve maximum success. Please lean in and warmly welcome the powerful Matt Granados to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Rebecca. I love what you're doing and excited to help out wherever I can.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to have you joining us today. Excited to have you give us some wisdom and advice about motivation. And I'm just really, really looking forward to the conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Happy to be here.
So to start our conversation, I'd love for you to share why this works. So why motivating others? Why has that become something that is personally so important to you?
The first reason is because as I built businesses, I was kind of a young entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. I would shovel snow. I wish my dad would let me get a lawnmower. He wouldn't let me because the blades were too sharp. He didn't trust me with it. But he gave me a shovel and said you could shovel snow. I grew up in Philadelphia. And ever since then, I've always been just enamored by entrepreneurship and building businesses. And what I realized was I wasn't as in love with building businesses as I was with building the people in the business. And what I finally realized was that the concept of motivation is something that is not a character trait. It's a state of mind, right? A lot of us call people, hey, well, they're just unmotivated. And a lot of the employees that I would hire would come in with this mindset that they are unmotivated when it's literally a state of mind. I promise you, every single listener in the last 48 hours at some point has been unmotivated, right? And it's all about changing that frame of mind. So I started seeing a lot of people putting themselves in this box and a lot of people putting other people in this box. And when we'd open up the box, all humans have motivation. It's a natural instinct that we have. We have desires. We have our wants. We have the things we want to chase after. My job is just to bring those things out and tie them into the goal we need to achieve, and how do we connect them.
Powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you're absolutely right. We can just label ourselves or others as unmotivated and not realizing that that's a state of mind, not a way that we are, and that we all can be motivated. And we all have those moments that we are unmotivated or just not feeling it. And I love your passion to help develop people and help them tap into what motivates them and tie that into the goal. Really, really powerful work. Would you share a little bit of how you started Life Pulse Inc. and how does this tie into helping motivate others?
Yeah, so Life Pulse started by accident. And I feel like a lot of businesses that get some natural, organic, fast growth were somewhat unintended. And what I mean by that is the market created this business. So my wife and I, Maria, right before we got married, she looked at me and said, look, I knew marrying you was going to be hard. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard. Like, you're really hard to be with. And she didn't mean it in a mean way. She meant it in a very honest way. So I sat there and said, well, what do you mean? She said, how do you manage all this? I shared my 9 questions I asked myself every single week as if that was a normal thing to do, right? She looked at me funny. She said, well, can I see those? Can we do them together? And I said, wow, that's the most amazing thing anyone's ever said to me. I would love to. We started doing it together. I realized how completely disconnected I was with the most important person in my life, my spouse. I thought I knew what she wanted, but I was totally off. So these questions brought out a different side of her that I assumed I knew that I didn't. So I took it and I started giving it to my assistant. I started giving it to my sales reps. I started giving it to my warehouse people. And what eventually happened was my book got passed off to a Fortune 500 company that reached out to me, this little, I call it the LP. It's a 9-part planning system. And they said, hey, your LP solved our biggest personnel issue. Can you come talk? I said, absolutely. I'd love to talk. I love this stuff. So we decided to go and talk for about a day and a half. We chatted. I told them everything they need to know about the system. And they said, thank you. We would have paid you a ton for this. We really appreciate that. And I looked at them and I said, excuse me. I said, what do you mean you would have paid me? You still can, but walk me through that. They said, no, we put a lot of money into this. And we have this one issue that we haven't been able to solve that we think this solved. I said, what was that? They said, we can't connect our corporate desired metrics with our individual's desired lifestyles. And when I asked them, how did you used to do that? They said, well, I just threw money, right? If you were bothered, I'd give you a bonus, right? And if I gave a big enough bonus, you kind of go away. And people used to accept that. Nowadays, that's not a way to motivate people. And it really never was. It was kind of a way to push people down and get them out of your office so you can move on to the next. So I called my wife and said, hey, I think you started a business without meaning to. So let's sit down and figure out what we're going to call it. So my wife and I together started Life Pulse. And we started traveling all over the world, teaching this 9-part system. And eventually clients would ask, where's your book? And eventually it got us to write Motivate the Unmotivated, which was all about how we take individuals, and no matter who they are, what level they are, we are able to motivate them to take action in the way that it needs to be taken. And it's not based on trickery. It's not based on anything else besides taking the time to understand the individual and helping them get more of what they want by doing the actions we need them to do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you sharing that journey and what you've created together and what you are now bringing forward. And do you mind taking a moment to share a little bit about your book, when it's coming out, so that people can mark that on their calendar and be watching for it? Any information around that? Yeah. Because it's really exciting that you're now making this information so accessible to people.
Yeah, so we're super pumped. We used to only offer this content to our clients, and due to the questions that people asking when it's going to come out, I put pen to paper, and it's actually coming out July 8th. It will be on Amazon only, July 8th, with a special price for the first day. So if you're listening, save the date, go online, motivate the unmotivated. It's a proven system for sustainable motivation. And the book itself is for anybody. It is not just for unmotivated people. I was just working earlier today with a client of ours, a CEO of a huge, huge company. I don't share the companies I work with just because for privacy purposes on interviews like this, but we're working with him, going through this process. And what he said was the best part about the book when he was able to see a pre-copy of it was the content that he read not only helps him motivate others, it helps him motivate himself. Not only does it help him motivate his employees, it's going to help him motivate his kids, his spouse, even his dog, right? And that's something we joke about. The stuff that we teach is for living creatures. It's based on natural truths. And because of that, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you might feel you are, where you are in your life, how broken or how put together you are, the content serves everybody. So we're super excited about it. July 8th on Amazon. Hopefully we'll get to see you guys come through. And if you like it, leave a quick review. And if you don't like it, send a message to me and I'll explain what I meant by it. But we are finding a lot of positive feedback from it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And listeners, if you're listening to the replay of the show or you're joining us live, I just want to take a moment here and let you know today is July 2nd. So this is coming really fast. And Matt, I appreciate you when you're pre-launch. I know it gets so busy. You taking time out of your schedule to share with us and encourage us and let us know about this powerful book and resource that can help us in so many ways. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that. Listeners, I encourage you, write that date on the calendar. July 8th. It's going to be available on Amazon. I know it'll be available for a special $1 rate, but only for the first 24 hours, maybe 48, we'll see, but definitely 24. We're going to be promoting and sharing it out, so watch for it on social media. Certainly lean in, put it on your calendar, watch for it. You don't want to miss the opportunity to add this valuable resource to your library. It can just support you and those around you in so many amazing ways. I am excited, looking forward to getting to share it out and to bringing it forward. And Matt, I'm just very honored that you're letting us be part of that process to share out such an amazing book. And I'd like for you to describe the cover, because I know you put a lot of thought and energy into it, and it'll also help people recognize and know they found the right book.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. The process of writing a book is so mentally draining, right? Forget the putting pen to paper. The mental part of it, of fighting through your own self-doubt, fighting through, should it be like this, should it be like that, the little nuances of how the table of contents should look and how the cover should look. And the cover, it was funny because the cover just kind of came to me. And the way the cover worked at first was I wanted to show the fact that the way most people try to motivate other people is, you have the carrot over the head or the pitchfork kind of, right on the back side. Right. And that's kind of how people would motivate. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, that's too childish for what we're trying to do. But what we're really trying to do is take the brain and turn it on. And I relate motivation kind of to like a small flame, that all we do when we teach, we just want to spark it. And if you spark it properly, it's like a pilot light in your house, whether it's your fireplace or in your furnace. If you turn the dial up, it gets hotter. If you turn the dial down, it gets lower. But if you don't have a system to control it, it could go wild. So the whole book, the cover is very simple. It's a white cover. It has obviously the title, and motivate brings life to people. And when you think of a brain, I think of a black and white brain, and that's the left side. It has nothing to do with the left side or right side of the brain. But our goal is to turn on the brain so that the individuals who are reading it, whether it's you or someone else you're trying to work with, comes to life, and it shows the paint and the splash of life that's put into the brain to turn it on. So when you see it, you'll see a brain. You'll see the left side of clear, it's just white, black and white, and the right side you'll see a very colorful. And the whole concept of it is this is how you motivate the unmotivated, because again, it's not a person, it's a mindset. It's the brain we are motivating, not the person.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I just felt like the cover was so powerful and it ties into, you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. It ties into the book so beautifully that I wanted people to know a little bit of that story and to be able to start visualizing your cover as they're leaning in with anticipation for the release date. With that, as we're getting ready to go to our next commercial break, I wanted to see if there's something, Matt, you'd like our listeners to reflect on. Is there a thought that you want to encourage them in these next 2 minutes to just sink a little bit deeper in and think about or feel into?
Yeah. So I want you to think of the person in your life who is the most unmotivated individual, I'll say, right? Basically, who has that mindset that I'm talking about. The main character of this book is a little cartoon that we created called Unmo. It's a long-distance cousin of the very well-known Elmo, who's, I think, the most popular little creature maybe on the planet right now, right? But Unmo is super unmotivated, so if you don't want to use the person's name during this time, I want you to think of who is the Unmo in your life at this moment, and that can change, and you can have multiple Unmos. And I want you just to think about what are some of the challenges that you've had with that individual, so that when we come back and start giving some information on how to do it, I want all of you to have an individual in your mind to start understanding how this process works.
Beautiful. Thank you. So listeners, as we go to our next commercial break of 2 minutes, I want you to think about the Unmo in your, or Unmo. Matt, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you say his name
Unmo.
One more time?
It's Unmo, like unmotivated.
Got it.
Unmo. Unmo.
So think about the Unmo in your life, or multiple as you shared, and we will look forward to continuing our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Think you've seen everything there is to see in online television? Let us surprise you. Visit voiceamerica.tv today for sports, health, business, and more on demand 24/7.
Rebecca Hall Greider's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Sustainable success is just around the corner. If you are an entrepreneur, business leader, or anybody looking for their next level of success, tune into Sustainable Success with host Chris Salem. Did you know that the path to success is a long path that started many years ago? The path you started on then determines what is happening now. Chris and his amazing guests in their field will help you navigate the path to sustainable success every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific on the Voice America Influencers channel.
Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit EmpoweredConnectionsTV.com. That's EmpoweredConnectionsTV.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
Tune in to the Voice America Variety channel on the Voice America Talk Radio Network. Voice America Variety broadcasts a diverse array of topics, reaching a global community. Our experts come from all walks of life, and the topics they discuss are everything from current events, arts and entertainment, leadership, parenting, relationships, self-improvement, career advice, and a variety of other topics. Check us out today. You're sure to find something of interest. Voice America Variety. Talk on today's hot topics.
Change starts here. Change starts now. Join us, the Voice America Influencers channel.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Greider. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes and you were able to explore if you have an unmo or more in your life. And Matt and I were talking a little bit about that behind the scenes, and he had some additional thoughts to add into this, how we're looking at unmos and kind of maybe expanding where we're looking or how we're looking at this. So, Matt, I'd love for you to add that into the conversation.
Yeah, so sometimes when we think of who is it in my life that I need to motivate, if we're in a managerial position at work, it's pretty obvious, right? But sometimes if we're not, if we don't have any direct reports, we sit back and go, well, I don't know who I would need to motivate, right? I don't have kids. I don't have people that work for me, but what I always tell people is unmo is anybody in your life, could be up or down in a chain of authority, and it also could be yourself. And it takes a lot to say, hey, it's just me. I need to motivate me. But what I tell people is there's a deadly assumption of motivation, and that's when people sit back and say, I'm all good. So I would challenge you that if you're sitting there going, I don't think I have anybody who I need to motivate, think a little deeper. There is somebody in your life. It could be a peer. It could be a friend of yours. It could be your neighbor. Go as wide as you need to find out who unmo is so we can show how this works. And if it's you, totally fine. This will work just as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for expanding that, and that caution too, that if we're kind of thinking we're all good, we may want to go a little bit deeper and expand the view. Yeah. So as we identify this unmo or multiple unmos in our life, what do we do with that information? What's the starting place with that?
So the starting place is to sit there and go through how you think of unmo. Right? We call this the tyranny of negative expectations. The one thing that's probably holding you back from fully motivating unmo, outside of some of the other techniques that I can share with you through the book, is the fact that you've already put unmo in that box like I talked about earlier. So there's 3 questions that we normally ask people to ask themselves about unmo. Number 1 is, what is it that unmo is focusing on this week? Not what should they be focusing on. What is it that they are focusing on? And if your answer is negative, like almost like a sarcastic response, like they aren't focusing on anything, that's fine. Put that down. Number 2 is you ask the question, what are they grateful for? And if the answer is nothing, put that down. But if you know what it is, put that down as well. And then number 3 is, what are they focused on this week? And as you answer these questions, you'll recognize one of 2 things. Most likely, there's a negative response or feeling when I'm asking you this about unmo. However, if I was to ask unmo these same questions, there is a high likelihood that they would answer with a positive response. They would not say they're unmotivated. They would not say that there's an issue. They have a reason for their actions. So what I mean by this is not that you're right or they're right or you're wrong or they're wrong. It's that you're not connected with the individual to know them enough to motivate them. And this is what I call by the tyranny of negative expectations. In our book, we jump into 2 different ways to motivate people. There's fear-based motivation, which we've experienced by bad managers and we've learned about in history by people like dictators. And then there's love-based motivation. And you know you've experienced it because even after that person's gone, you're still motivated by them. Fear-based motivation is based on force, meaning you need to put pressure on an individual to do something. Love-based motivation is based on understanding. Now, this is the kicker. If you look at history, there has been countless examples of fear-based motivation throughout history of bad people. What happens is that person's removed from power. All of a sudden, their power is gone. There has been countless examples of love-based motivation, everyone from Martin Luther King to Gandhi to Princess Diana to Jesus to Mother Teresa. I mean, you name it, from a historical, I don't care if you agree with where they stood from a historical perspective. They led based on love and understanding of others. And when they were removed from power, unfortunately for most of them, when they passed away, their motivation became stronger. And I know through the system we teach that we can show you how to use love-based motivation through understanding in less time, using less energy, and gaining better results with unmo.
So powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I appreciate those 3 steps, those 3 questions that we can go through and check in and ask and see how we're viewing things. And do we know that person well enough to motivate them? And even if it's ourselves needing motivation, it's really interesting to take a moment and stop and look at those questions and kind of see where you're at. And I appreciate that perspective of these different ways of leadership and motivation. And it's really impactful to me to think about love-based actually becoming stronger and stronger through time versus just going away. So I think that's a powerful concept to embrace and to look at and to appreciate that it can have an ongoing, lasting impact. Anything you'd like to add to that?
And I want to tie it back to when I said why this LP system that we do behind this works so well, right? This is the 9-part planning system that I said earlier, Maria, my wife, and I did together. The first 3 questions in the 9-question series: what are you focused on? What are you grateful for? What goals are you working towards? And this is what I mean by the fact that I could have guessed and had very positive intentions on what Maria was working on, what she was focused on, what she was grateful for. But it wasn't until I sat down and asked her those answers. So these are not answers that you should secretly figure out. These are answers that you should hear from the horse's mouth itself. Ask these questions. If you're managing a team and you want to connect with them on a level without getting too personal, but really getting personal, hey, before we start this meeting, what are you focused on this week? What are you grateful for? And what are you working towards this week? All of our clients, that's what we have them do. And as a manager or as a parent, as a motivator, you want to have this conversation with your kid at the dinner table. What are you focused on? What are you grateful for? What are you working towards this week? Have that conversation once a week. And then here's the kicker: listen for trends. Listen for what is it that they keep saying they're grateful for. What do they keep working towards, and how can we help them? That allows us to parent properly and manage properly versus parent and manage is the easiest, common denominator. So those questions are massive. And it all comes, like I said, that's where this program came from, was this book we used to train people. And we realized that those 3 questions, if I know them, I can help that individual achieve whatever it is they want. And I can show them how what we do is kind of like what we call a purpose vehicle to help them get where they want to go out of life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know I appreciate how you started the company and how in this exploration with your wife, you learned things about her that you didn't know, and it brought you closer, and it led to the creation of this system and this powerful company. And now the book that you're bringing forward to help so many people. So as you look back and you're in your daily life, how are you continuing to motivate yourself? And is there someone who has been the hardest person to motivate in your life?
Yeah, so when it comes to motivation, this is the fun part, is if you don't have a system that works, motivating others and yourself is a chore. When you have a system that works, motivating other people and yourself becomes a challenge, and an enjoyable challenge. Right? Not a challenge that you're going, I got to do this again. So right now, I always like to relate, and I appreciate you asking this question, to whatever I teach in my current situation. So the hardest person to date that I ever had to motivate was myself, right? And that's kind of a cliche answer, but it was because in 1 year, in a 30-day period, I had employees embezzle. I had my fiance at the time leave me. Doctors say I wasn't going to make it past 40. And really I was completely empty. On the outside, I had a multi-million-dollar business. Life was good. Everything was going well. Internally, I was completely done. And I couldn't make it more than a week at a time. That used to be the hardest person to motivate. Now, I'm working with somebody else. I have a 3-year-old daughter. Her name's Natalie. Natalie has a very rare genetic disorder that leads to muscular dystrophy. So Natalie, at 3 years old, does not walk, does not crawl. We have some equipment that we use to help her get around. But my job now as a father is to motivate her to actually eventually walk. The problem is everything scientifically shows that won't be a reality. So how do I handle that? How do I motivate that? And here's the kicker. Natalie is motivated to walk. Remember, I told you this system works with already motivated individuals. It doesn't matter where they lay on the scale from motivated to unaware to lazy. That's kind of the scale of motivation. It doesn't matter where they are, this works. So here's what I have to do with Natalie. Natalie was told by the state when they did a test that physically she was about half her age. However, mentally, she was almost twice her age from a mental perspective, her capability to comprehend stuff. So what I'm now doing, because when it comes to motivating people, I used to always try to fix the problem. I don't fix the problem anymore. Here's what we do because of what I learned from Natalie when we found out how smart she was and how advanced she was mentally, was I need to manage weaknesses and leverage strengths. So whether you're motivating yourself, for example, I can't write very well. Hopefully it doesn't stop anyone from buying the book. Fortunately, I have very good editors to make sure that it made sense. But writing is a weakness for me. Spelling is a weakness for me. My editors have helped make this book very, very enjoyable, and I'm very happy that I was able to work with the best editors I could find. But when it comes to writing something, I needed to manage that weakness, which is get editors to help make sure it makes sense, and leverage my strength, which was being willing to share examples and stories of mine personally that shows the experience and the experiment actually working. With Natalie, I need to sit there and manage her weakness. Her weakness is she can't use her muscles. Her strength is she can use her brain. So right now, I am in the process of teaching my daughter how to walk using her brain, meaning take your right hand, press right by your right hip, using your palm, straighten your elbow. And this is a 3-year-old I'm doing this with. And she's now pushing herself up. Flatten your hand, move your elbow, push yourself up. Take your foot, set it flat. So if I didn't change the way I was working, if I didn't take the time to understand who Natalie was, what I would have done is said, we need to do physical therapy 7 days a week. And I would have tried to fix her weakness versus manage the weakness, leverage her strength. Now, Natalie likes to play the piano. We're getting Natalie into coding. Natalie is using her strengths to get herself continually ahead mentally because physically, there's a high likelihood that she will never match her peers. So it's a very personal story. I share a lot of personal stories in this book because I feel that if I can't speak from experience, I don't care what the studies say. I want proof that it works. And we have studies that back everything that we say in this book, but I want to make sure that I've experienced it in a way that I can share with any reader to let them see how to do this. And again, if it's a good quality way to motivate a human, it's not just a way to increase sales in a business. It's not just a way to increase what happens in your bottom line. It is how you get humans to act in a way that benefits them and benefits you symbiotically.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It's beautiful, and it really clearly illustrates the power of this and approaching things in a different way. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing it, and even sharing some of your own weaknesses and how you played to your strengths. I think that is so important because so often we let what we see as weaknesses hold us back instead of learning how to play to our strengths and even leverage those. So I appreciate both of those shares beautifully and that you shared, and would love for you to give us something to think about as we go to our next commercial break. Is there something on your heart and spirit as you reflect back on that share that you'd like our listeners to think about as we go to our next commercial break?
Yeah, I want you to think of the time where you have experienced joy, where you have had fun, you've experienced it, you've been a part of it, and you just remember that feeling of you being engaged with what's happening around you. Because one of the things I find happening right now is people are having trouble focusing. And that's what I want to talk about when we come back on how to make focus a choice.
Beautiful. Thank you. So listeners, let's take a moment, these 2 minutes, to reflect on that, and we'll look forward to continuing our conversation in just 2 minutes.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN. Announcing a powerful new TV channel featuring programs designed to enhance and transform your life. Make powerful connections, one program at a time. And by doing so, we can bring transformation to the world. Tune in each week to Empowered Connections TV as we add new programs to help you make empowered connections of your own. Visit empoweredconnectionstv.com. That's empoweredconnectionstv.com. And make the most of an incredible life transformation.
There's a new force to be reckoned with in talk radio. It's Not Just Talk Radio, hosted by LaTanya Jr. and co-host Tina Wynn and Tony Brown. Not Just Talk Radio is like a superhero, inspiring, problem-solving, and informing, packed with action-provoking conversations from news, movements, and social and politics issues. This program is about a wide range of voices and fresh points of view from experts, celebrities, and you, the listener. Not Just Talk Radio is broadcast live Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific on the Voice America Influencers Channel.
Rebecca Hall Greider's Speaker Talent Search is looking for speakers wanting to get on more stages. With just one audition, you could open the doors to hundreds of speaking opportunities, reach more people, and expand your impact. Finalists get to audition live in front of leaders looking to fill all kinds of speaking opportunities. Apply now at SpeakerTalentSearch.com. That's SpeakerTalentSearch.com. We look forward to hearing your message.
Become a member of VoiceAmerica.com. It's easy, and best of all, it's free. Start out by going to our homepage or any of our channels and click Register at the top. Once you've created an account and signed in, you can create your own custom library, opt into our newsletter, search by show, host, guest, or topic of interest, or browse millions of hours of content across all of our Voice America radio channels. Membership gets you more. Visit VoiceAmerica.com today to get started and tailor the listening experience to your taste.
We don't follow, we lead. Join us, the Voice America Influencers Channel.
You're listening to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with your host, Rebecca Hall Greider. If you have a question or comment for Rebecca or her guest, we'd love to hear from you. Please call into the program at 1-866-472-5795. That's 1-866-472-5795. You may also send an email to Rebecca at yourpurposedrivenpractice.com. Now back to Empowering Women, Transforming Lives.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed those 2 minutes and had an opportunity to really feel into what brings you joy. And as Matt and I were talking behind the scenes, he was sharing about how that ties into focus and why all of this is especially important right now. So with that, Matt, I want to hand the floor over to you and have you take us through the next step or next reflection point in that.
Absolutely. And I think where we jump into is this concept of focus. And focus, and I have a chapter in the book that I call the myth of ADD. That's not talking about ADD being a myth, but it's the excuse people use. Hey, I have this thing and it's causing me not to pay attention. And the thing I want you to think of is I want you to think of a time if you were to pay for a ticket, right? And let's even say it was free, but someone gave you a ticket. So you went to an event. And if you're into sports, let's say it's a football game. If you like music, let's say you're at a symphony, or if you like plays, you're at a play, right? Whatever it is you like. And I want to describe this and tell me your thoughts. You were brought by someone else to come to it. The football game is a bunch of individuals running all over the place, totally disorganized, very sloppy. You don't understand what's happening. The play, the actors barely know their lines. They don't know what they're doing. They aren't on cue. And the symphony, it just sounds like a train wreck, right? Instruments are out of tune. People are off key. You name it. Most people sitting in there would go, why am I wasting my time here? And that's very normal. But I want to change some of the context to this. All right? I want you to assume you're at a kid's football game, your kid's football game, your kid's play, your kid's symphony. At that point, you were able to enjoy it no matter the quality of what's happening, no matter what the action actually is, because there's value behind that. So what I always tell people is it's our responsibility as the person who is controlling our emotions, as the person who is controlling our reactions, to sit there and find the joy, find what you should be focused on. I use the analogy, who's responsible for learning, the teacher or the student? And the teacher's responsibility is to teach. The student's responsibility is to learn. So because of that, when we're in the role of the absorber, right, we're in the audience, we're the student, we're doing something on the outside that's not put in. Do what you need to do to focus on something you like about what's happening to stay engaged. If you are engaged, I don't care where you are, how much you dislike it, you will enjoy it more. And recognizing that focus is a choice, which will lead to you enjoying what it is you're doing by being engaged with what's happening around you.
Thank you for sharing that, and that we can choose what we're focusing on and how our perspective and how we're looking at things. That's a really, really powerful shift. I appreciate you sharing. And I know that's just one small part of the information that's in your powerful book. And I'd love for you to share from your heart as you put this book together, because you shared, it's a journey to bring a book forward. And particularly if writing is not your thing as much, and that's not a strength, it's that much more challenging to bring it forward. And yet you have, and you're launching it, everyone, just in case you missed the date, July 8th. What is in your heart and spirit? What are you hoping people gain, readers gain from this book as you bring it forward?
I'm hoping that individuals disregard the myth that you can't motivate others. I hope that people recognize that you can motivate people, and motivation is, again, it's a mindset, it's not a character trait. The purpose of this book and the way it's even written is so that each chapter you go into as the reader will speak directly to you, can work with the whole system, and can be an individual action item for you to take and do something with. I'm a big proponent of what I call learning with implementation in mind. That's a term that I teach all of our clients, is that I want you to read this book with Unmo in mind, whichever Unmo you're working on that day, and the book will speak to you differently every single time. I am so excited to see people change relationships that they thought would never be changed, rekindle relationships that they thought were completely broken, and grow relationships that they thought were already at a peak to a level that's even better and more, and bearing more fruit for the individuals involved. That is what motivation does. Motivation does not just bring more to the bottom line. That is a byproduct of what we're teaching. And the book is easy to digest. It's easy to consume for anybody at any level. And for anyone who's listening who gets into this book, again, on July 8th when it comes out, I think you're going to notice right away that you will find a nugget you can implement within the first probably 30 minutes of reading the book that can transform your life. And I agree. It is a really, really powerful book. I got the opportunity to see an advanced copy, and I know it will powerfully touch your lives. Any person who leans into this will have an opportunity to grow in powerful ways. And as you were sharing on your heart what you hope, I was leaning in, smiling, and I could feel that desire that you have echoing out, the energy of it throughout the world. And I hope and believe the world is embracing what you're bringing forward, the intent of it. It can touch so many different lives, so many businesses, so many personal lives, and create a shift of how we are thinking about motivation, that we can become motivated, that we can motivate others, and that even if we are motivated, we can even bring it to another level. That is exciting. I so appreciate you, Matt, joining us today, sharing some of your amazing wisdom and insight with us. And listeners, one more time, so nobody misses out. The date of the release for this powerful book is July 8th. That is Wednesday, July 8th. It will be available on Amazon for the special rate of $1 in the Kindle format. So easy to access. You don't have to have a Kindle device in order to enjoy it. You just need to be able to connect to the internet. And let's help get the word out so that we can reach as many hearts and lives as possible, because each of you matter, are absolutely needed in this world, have amazing gifts, strengths, and talents that nobody else has in the mixture that you have.
So one of the greatest gifts you can give the world is more of you. So the more you can lean in and motivate yourself and motivate others, that's how we get to make a global difference, heart by heart, life by life. So wherever you go, whatever you do, may you always choose to bloom where you are planted and shine. Have an amazing week, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for joining us this week for Empowering Women, Transforming Lives. Please tune in again for another edition with your host, Rebecca Hall-Gruyter, next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, on the Voice America Influencers Channel. And join us for a replay of the show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a beautiful week, and may you always bloom where you're planted and shine.